Let's begin. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave as we get started for a very early Saturday morning over here. It is prior to 7 a.m., so crack of dawnish once again, and plenty to talk about because of the way that Bitcoin closed both the daily and weekly for CMEs yesterday and the way that world markets kind of operating right now. So plenty to talk about around the sphere, and I just need to make sure that I'm actually recording and my microphone's working because that was a huge issue yesterday. Okay, looks like we're good right now, so hopefully this one actually works. And let's put the folks on the Krown Chain application over here, which can be found at app.krownchain.net, and it's 100% free, by the way. Looking at the open interest, we do see that it actually has come down a little bit from yesterday to today as Bitcoin price action does go up, which is a little bit of a cause for concern. Albeit we have not broken any long-term ranges here. So at the end of the day, we haven't really seen any major change in behavior. And more importantly, price action is at levels, especially with these major closes, that take much more priority, which we'll get into a little bit later on this video. Anyways, looking at the Bitcoin dominance, heading down about 0.25% there as Bitcoin oscillates between the low 59 region and the 59.5 region. So we haven't really seen anything major there still yet. And I do believe that it is going to be worthwhile to take a look at the weekly today, preparing for tomorrow's closure. Also, the fear and greed index also popping up about 5 points, which is rather interesting as Bitcoin really only just plays out to the top side of the range. We did say yesterday very likely to test back up to 11,500, and Bitcoin is trading actually a little bit above 11,500 right now. But how does that follow up with the weekend trading action plus the week to the new trading week to come on Monday? Well, let's go take a look at the data tab first before we get into the actual price action charts. And what do we see here? Still nothing of too much interest. Fear and greed index still kind of oscillating between the same, mid 75 level and high like 85 level. We have seen tops in the past, like major cycle tops being put in the mid 90s. So this area right here, also in between this region, is starting to suggest a little bit of cause for concern overall, but still, it's not historically all that relevant. So and realize that these things are still very, very far and divorced from price action. At the end of the day, price action matters most, and these things are more or less just fundamentally masturbate about. Keeps that blue brains away. So there you go. Anyways, global funding rate still inconsequential too. We did call a major local top with the last one getting above 0.1%. And now, for reference, it is 0.02%. So a far world away from what we saw before. And while I do expect that to see the same sort of interplay with that as we've seen basically for like the last 3 years or so, for right now, it's still not really relevant to what we're looking at. So let's go into the price action charts and see what we got running over here. And most importantly, we did see the closure for not just the daily yesterday, but the weekly CMEs. And let's actually put the focus on them first and foremost here. And most importantly, Bitcoin actually did maintain the 21 exponential moving average on CMEs, and I believe Bitcoin also is in the progress of playing out some hidden bullish divergence on CME daily as well. Now, this is why I put a lot more weight on the CME chart than I do on spot price action chart. The reason why this is because a lot of the time when I see something that is obvious on CMEs but not on spot price action, then it's very likely that the CME chart will be right. And in this case, I do think that it will be right. I do think that Bitcoin does play this one out and does head up towards the next, towards the next long-term liquid zone to the top side, which on CMEs would be somewhere right around a little bit above 12,000. On spot price action, it's like the high 11,000. It's like 11.9. And we'll go into that in just a second later. But for right now, I want to also put the focus on the, oh, God damn it. My reverse stochastic indicator cross, Bally's taking away my axis. How dare you? No, just kidding. I just need to pull it up over here. Oh man, I have so fucking many of them. It's ridiculous. Where is it? Come on, where is it? God damn it, it's got to be here somewhere. God damn it, Bally, where the fuck did it go? Oh Jesus, reverse stoke. Yeah, there we go. Okay, beautiful. All right, so yes, there we go. Showing so much more information, but God, I just want one. Can I get rid of all of this? Sorry, I do not actually prepare for these videos, as you probably know. Yep, let's get rid of it right there. All right, so yes, Bitcoin daily momentum will turn back onto the upside with any sort of a closure, or sorry, even like an open on Monday, probably above 11,700. Now, keep in mind that CMEs do have about $100 premium on spot price action, so that would be the same thing at Bitcoin spot at around 11.6 region. So keep that area in mind as it will be very relevant coming into Monday if Bitcoin is above that level. And for right now, we also have to realize that this is not updated until we get the next open as well. And this will naturally come down further. And you can see over here that daily Stokes for Bitcoin is actually going to, no, it's actually not forming any trend line there. So fair enough. I was going to say something about that, but no. What we also see, I believe, on 12-hour is that it is, obviously leading it as you'd expect right here. And this, again, would show the same sort of hidden bullish divergences between this point and this point, and momentum turning up at the same time. Typically, I do like reads like that. And you can see that momentum will remain to the upside as long as we essentially maintain the 11,300 low that we set in about a couple days ago on the 27th. So all of this does take precedence over the spot price action charts, in my opinion. However, because it is a weekend time, does that mean that I'm expecting? I fucking hate that. I really dislike that word. I really despise that word. It's the wrong mentality to be coming at this from. But does that mean that I'm looking for Bitcoin to play out its upside right here, right now? Probably not. Or at least I wouldn't. I wouldn't put too much on it, because the weekend price action typically is going to play out the range, and in this case, the range is more or less the same as what we saw from yesterday, with a slight variation here. Anyways, looking at the weekly, which we also saw the closure for this as well. This is very important right here. The weekly did close, technically speaking. I mean, if you want to be super technical, I guess a hammer dildo right here. And if you're looking at momentum oscillators, that means that we're also going to keep the momentum up on the weekly Stokes, which is important because we closed just above the point right here, as you can see, where momentum remains the upside, 11,580. And this is all coming simultaneously around the time that weekly RSI is testing around the edge of the bullish control zone, which the EMA should start to naturally line up with this over time. And usually you will see some sort of bouncy behavior around that area, and same thing for the bearish control zone as well, depending upon which angle that you're approaching it from. But in this case right here, would be looking at this as very likely to bounce within this region coming into this next week of price action. That does still mean that Bitcoin could have another swipe to the downside here, but overall, I stick with what I've been saying for the last few weeks. I'm not bearish on Bitcoin, looking for any major moves to the downside until Bitcoin breaks below 11,000 at the very least, and then yes, I'd be happy to do that. But per my own personal rules, I don't like to trade against that sort of former president set, which in this case right here, we still have what is most importantly, I think I have it marked off on this chart right here, what most importantly, a change in behavior on the macro scale. Well, for Bitcoin, that would be the weekly, I suppose. You could also make the argument for a monthly, which we're actually closing on Monday as well. So we'll definitely be looking at that. But this is the area, this is the same blue box territory that Bitcoin's been getting, that Bitcoin's been getting rejected from ever since January 2018. Quite literally, 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago at least. So as long as it holds this level, which CMEs did close within this level, by the way, then I still go with the former assumption that this is a change of behavior on the macro scale, creating new highs along the way. And well, if that's true, then long term, more or less good. Doesn't mean that short term is just going to be straight to the fucking upside. No, obviously not. But sideways within this boxy territory right here between about 11.5 and 12,000 is more or less consolidation within a range at a high level while breaking a resistance at the same time. These are all good things to be having together, while momentum obviously turns up as well, which we will see on weekly Stokes. Now they are quite frothy up there, but still, as long as it maintains 11.5, as you can see, actually on the weekly on weekly spot, it actually does show that it's a little bit more aggressive, 11,750. So very interesting there. But again, CMEs do take precedence for myself in this regard, and more importantly, we do see the same thing on weekly RSI. Any sort of a closure above 11,450, we will see it naturally bounce off the bottom side of the bullish controls territory. So all of this matters, when put together. And I do still kind of air the favor on the upside here overall. Now, again, that's not to say that in the short term and medium term, I don't think that Bitcoin can come down. It is a weekend after all, and I just don't trust technical analysis all that much on a weekend. If I did have to call it this weekend, it looks to me like we're playing out a range between 11.5 and still the same area to the downside yesterday of 11.3. We'll take this off for now. Get out of my face. There we go. And actually, let's go back to the same chart that we had yesterday too. I guess we could use the Bit Mexican chart. We might as well make a new one here. Anyways, it's getting a little bit stale and a little bit crowded on the GDAX one, but same thing essentially as yesterday. Using the 4-hour 200 simple moving average as more or less a governor for price action to the upside right now. And while I do think that the closures on CMEs were rather significant yesterday night, it is still it is still more or less a range right here, and biases don't really change within it. Below 11,300, yes, I do get bearish for a short term and medium term move all the way back down to 11,000, maybe even 10,900ish region, this is the area where I can get long-term bearish. So again, it's always, level by level for myself. It's not to say that this is the only way to do things, it's not to say this is the right way to do things either. It's just my way of doing things, and you can use it for yourself for better or worse, and tweak what you like, or take what you like, discard what you don't like, and make it your own over time, perhaps, is fine as well. And of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and the furthest thing from it as well. Let me just make sure that this is going well over here. Okay, cool. And let me okay, let's get back on over here. Great. All right, so is there any sort of any sort of divergences to be aware of on this time frame right now? If we were going to be looking for a local high to be put in here, I would be looking for something resembling hidden bearish divergence in this case, which we do not have on the 4 hour at the very least, as our last high was right around 56. So no, that is not going to be appropriate. Let's go down to the 3 hour. Maybe obviously the lower term time frame is going to be easier to get something like that, but as you can see right here, same thing. Nope, not quite available. 2 hour is going to show the same thing again. Again, not available. And hourly, the hourly doesn't have it either. So very interesting. So yeah, I suppose even if I am looking at these lower term time frames, I probably would be looking for Bitcoin to crawl its way upwards and onwards, likely towards 11,700ish region, medium term, if I'd have to call it. But like I said, I don't trade on the weekends. I don't like trading on, I don't trade on the weekends. I certainly don't like even looking at price action on the weekends. And while I would typically be looking for a move up into this territory right here, right around about 11.7, we'll call it. Because it is a weekend, I just don't want to stand by anything. Early this week, that was very easy to do. Looking for moves down to 11,000, looking for moves back up to 11.5. But during the weekend, I just don't feel that comfortable. I don't feel that confident. I think it's very important to reiterate on video, because I think a lot of people put too much pressure on themselves to be trading all day, every day, and that's not real trading, in my opinion. I mean, there's not always something to do. In fact, a lot of the times there's nothing to do, and trading's a very strange profession, because it's almost more important to know when not to do something than when to do something. So in this case right here, does it look like it's going to give a try to the upside? Yes, it does. Is it also a trade? Is it also a weekend? Yes. So do I trust it all that much? Not really. Do I want to trade on the weekend? Fuck no. So yeah, overall, I'd be having the same areas as yesterday though. Below 11.3, like I said, bearish down to here, and long-term bearish below here. It's very important to talk about still, just because it can happen, of course. Below 11,000, I would be looking for overall moves back down below 10,000, very likely to 98 to 9,700ish region, with the big bounce along 10.5 and another in potentially reversal implied down here as well. But for right now, it does seem to me that short-term, medium terms, sideways within this region is more or less fine. Let the oscillators cool off a little bit, and then get ready for very likely a try coming into next week. Now, while we are here, or do we want to cover this one up a little bit more? Let's go check out the Trollender bands. Let's see, what does it look like on a daily? Daily did get rejected from the medium, but it is flat. It's flat as a fucking doorknob, or a door. Is that it? I don't know. It's been a while since I've been in high school. Anyways, looking at this right here, MACD, not really too much to talk about right there. At least on the daily, maybe on a lower term time frame. Is there anything showing up that we didn't really see on RSI? Not really. Not really. Well, I guess we're looking at CMEs right now. Let's go look at spot. No, still not really. Or kind of. Yeah, we actually would have that potential hidden bearish divergence in play between this point and this point on histogram. But if I don't see the same sort of divergence that I see on RSI, that I see on MACD, I find that those don't work out all that often. Yes, sometimes you will see it work out on MACD histogram, but not on RSI, or it's not present on RSI, but it's very rare. And as far as looking at this from a statistical narrative, I do not trust that one as much. And again, in a game where you can wait until you have the perfect hand to play, I just don't see really the relevancy of doing something like this. A lot of people called out this buy signal on the 4 hour Jewel yesterday, I think it was. No, 2 days ago. Yeah, 27th of August. I think the other day we were right around here when I was looking at it, and I said that if they all start to turn up at the same time, that would generally be a good signal. And well, that was calling the low right here at about 11.3. That was also why we were looking for 11.5 yesterday. But now, where do we go from here? Looking at 4 hour momentum, where does it wane? Where does it increase? And yes, as long as Bitcoin's above 11,450, it will stay to the upside. It's getting a little bit high there. But that's okay. That's not a huge issue. You can see that we've been finding a lot of tops within this region right here at the just below 89.5 region, which was getting our August 1st high, which was getting our August 5th high, and then our August 14th high, which was all these major highs right here, and right here. So all of these, are relevant. More importantly, and Jesus Christ, my chart looks like a bunch of Jesus toast. But yes, it would suggest that essentially as long as we maintain these wick lows right here, direction is to the upside, very likely a targeted region towards about 11,700. I'm curious if volume profile agrees with this too. Let's go bring it up. And yeah, volume profile showing the point of control right around about 11,750. So that is going to be a good pivot for the upside as well. I would still err on the side of conservativeness with this one, and still be using this area right here at about 11,900. Or actually, we could probably flip that down if we use it daily. Yeah, we could flip that down a little bit. I think that this is a little more appropriate on daily. I think I already have it on this chart right here. I'd feel a lot more comfortable with that, especially looking at the volume profile from this perspective. But overall, my point is that if Bitcoin can get above this level, then that is my confirmed breakout to the upside. So just like this is my long-term downside trigger, this is my long-term upside trigger. So, generally speaking, if Bitcoin does break above, let's call it 11,900 on a daily closure, especially 12,000 for more conservative people out there, I'd be targeting new highs on this run. Very likely a quick move back up to 12.3 to test the prior high on this run on the 17th of August, and then continuation implied, very likely to the next major macro areas, which in this case right here, at this point, there's actually not too much more to be going off of, seeing as we're getting into territory that Bitcoin, or if Bitcoin were to do that, it'd be getting into territory that just hasn't really seen before for a long time, or hasn't really spent all that much time in before. I mean, this was like about 1 month of price action over here in late 2017, early 2018. And, I suppose if I did have to call something, it would be somewhere around like the high 13,000s on a weekly. And then I'd probably be looking for like a big consolidation phase after that as well. Now, no, it is a fact that the end of the month is coming in about 2 days, on the 31st on Monday. And that means that we should now more than ever look at the monthly closure, or look at how the monthly is shaping up right now. And again, for perspective here, the monthly is still in an overall uptrend, which has been, well, hold on, let's go to a chart that actually has history, which has been going, forwards ever since, essentially 2015. And more recently, and this is very relevant because more recently we got confirmation of continuation in July, end of July, getting this low right here, this high right here, this higher low right here, and then we did close on a new high in July above this high right here. So by definition, that is continuation. So if we have higher lows and higher highs, then, well, there's your uptrend, and the trend can be your friend if you just let it be, my friend. And momentum oscillators are going to agree with that as well. Looking at monthly Stokes, rejecting the bearish control zone and up, they will remain to the upside. By the way, for perspective, as long as Bitcoin closes this next monthly dildo above 7150, interesting. I've seen some crazy things in Bitcoin land, but that is about a $5,000 or $4,000 move from here. Take that as you will. And monthly Joule giving you a hot or long signal as well. And then monthly RSI right here, putting in a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders, more or less looking like a very constructive signature, regardless of what sort of Jesus toast patterns you are looking for. And technically speaking, if we were to get back into the bullish control zone, by the way, it would imply a move towards 13,000 actually. So that is all interesting. And then more importantly, we're also going to be closing not just the monthly, but the bi-monthly. And the bi-monthly, being a higher term time frame, holds more weight. And in this case, we actually haven't confirmed a continuation of uptrend here, but we're going to have a chance to on Monday with any sort of a closure above, especially 11,000. So 11,000 is very critical, not just for, what we looked at on the shorter term timeframes like a daily and below, but also, of course, the monthly and bi-monthly too, which will maintain an uptrend here, confirming it by closing above what we saw in May 2019 at about, a little bit under 11,000 actually. And again, would imply move to test, somewhere around the closure that we saw in November 2017 and open of January 2018, alongside the wicks that you see in the accumulated in this region as well. But this being an uptrend being continued would very likely lead towards, a long-term breakout. Now, again, when we're talking about a monthly and a bi-monthly, am I talking about today's price action? Fuck no, it's a weekend and we haven't even closed the monthly to begin with. So for God's sakes, hopefully I don't get misheard on that one. Or at least I'll try my best to express myself as best as possible. Although I'm definitely imperfect in that way, I can tell you that right now. now after listening to some of my videos. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, I need like speech pathology coaching and also and also several other things too, I suppose. But looking at this right here, it would overall be good, and same thing for momentum oscillators heading nice and north on the bi-monthly Stokes. Bi-monthly RSI would be getting into the bullish control zone as well, with any sort of a confirmed closure above 11,800, which would be rather significant too. So all of this really does matter, and it will be confirmed or denied on Monday. But 11,000, that critical area to be aware of on both the bi-monthly and the monthly too. Yeah, monthly's having actually a little bit lower than that, about 10.9 if you want to be super exact. But overall, the same sort of shit, and would speak towards the long-term health of this asset, and very likely, very likely look for some more upside overall. We can go back down here just for a second. I'm curious if there's anything that I missed, because I don't really feel like I'm being all that helpful right now. Realistically, what I'm going to say on the weekend is the same thing that I say for myself. I'm not fucking interested. I'm not fucking interested, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin comes back down and tests 11.3. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin pops back up and tests 11.7 during the week. I would be very likely looking for some more upside, but over the weekend, probably test both sides of the medium-term time frame range, and then come back into wherever CME is closed on Friday. Very likely. Not always, but if you trade like that, more often than not, it will be true. Anyways, let's go over here to check out traditional markets. And actually, first, let's go check out gold. This is another reason why I do think that Bitcoin pulls through here. Gold got a very critical close on Friday as well. This is going to look a lot more like accumulation within this region rather than descending highs, as we actually do have the same sort of potential hidden bullish divergence, or do we? Yeah, ever so slightly we do. But overall, this closure, very, 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 very important. I'd probably be looking for a small downside move to about 1950 coming into next week, and then continuation back up towards 2000 and probably beyond. This is coming along the side of daily momentum oscillators turning back up, daily Stokes rejecting the bearish control zone and up, and will remain to the upside as long as, closing above basically Friday's low, 1923. Looking at, or we already looked at daily RSI, and then more importantly, looking at historical volatility percentile. This is going to go into a contraction phase here. So it got obviously very hot when it got into this major move right here. Now it comes into contraction phase as it consolidates, likely speaking towards its overall health. So I'd just be looking, long term, or maybe not long term, but medium term. I'd be looking for a range to be created between 1925 and the highs at like 2050 for now, and then as long as it can hold that, the bias would be on an upside resolution overall. But for now, I'd be looking for this to cool off quite a bit. In fact, that reminds me, I really want to look at Bitcoin's historical volatility percentile. Yeah, on the daily, it is contracting. You can see right here, this is its own little segment ever since we got into this July August area, right? I guess I drew it in yesterday already. And that's important because it does have an apex in second week of September. That would imply a very likely statistical resolution somewhere around here, which is basically early this coming week. So that would speak towards this whole formation right here. So it would imply that resolution very likely outside of this range this coming week, which does line up well, obviously, with the monthly and bi-monthly closure. So again, all these things kind of being put together right now. And I'm curious what the 12-hour would say as well. We would expect the same sort of thing. And yes, indeed, you see the same sort of thing here. Let's see what the 4-hour even says. Yeah, even the 4 hours got the same sort of signature, contracting along the same way, following the moving average on this as well. And again, same sort of resolution date implied, or sometime this next coming trading week. So I would actually be looking for a move, very likely below 11,000 or above 12,000 this coming week. Call me crazy, but that's what the historical volatility percentile would suggest right now. And with momentum oscillators more or less across the board, looking for some upside. I would put the probabilities on the upside. Obviously, we'll look at the actual mathematics later, but I do think it's worth mentioning as well. Once again, this is why I put a lot of weight on CME chart, and the reason is this. Again, you don't see the same sort of thing here that you see on spot price action. We actually see that there is hidden bullish divergence present on this chart right now between this point and this point, correlating with this low and this low. Not super obvious, but it is present. And for right now, that would very likely insinuate a test back up towards the top side of the range, in fact. But of course, CME is not trading over the weekend. Doesn't really help that narrative, does it? So okay. So we spoke about that. We spoke about gold. We spoke about we haven't spoken about traditional markets. Let's go over here. Did we get new all-time highs in Nasdaq yesterday? No, but I'd be looking for new all-time highs coming into next week as well. Do you think that this one's lining up for a pretty damn good closure here once again? On Friday, closing the weekly very, 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 very high. If it does have a pullback coming into next week, I'd be looking for maybe a move down to like 1700 or 11,700. But overall, the direction is still up. I'll still be looking for new all-time highs. I know that this thing's getting a little bit crazy now, and I do express a reservation myself when looking at something like this. Like, don't get me wrong, this chart is getting very, very crazy, but don't underestimate how much the last breaths of a parabolic run can go. So I do actually still think some more upside here, but this is starting to get like, when Bitcoin was like in end of 2017, I was like, oh shit, it's getting kind of crazy now, man. It's definitely going to pop at some point. But at least more for now, I would be looking for new highs coming into next week. Looking at E-mini futures for SPY, we have new all-time highs as well, as we said. And I'd be looking, or did we hit any targets here? No, actually the relevant targets are very far away right now. Still looking at 37. Oh my God, 3,700. What the fuck, Krown? Do you say 3,700? I mean, this is a really good weekly. I'd be looking for new all-time highs here coming into next week. This is fucking continuation, for the love of God. Look at your momentum oscillators. Is there any sort of bearish divergence here on weekly RSI? I'm sure someone's gonna fucking say that, but no, you don't really see bearish divergence coming in this region right here. You could maybe form a trend line right here, but that would obviously insinuate new highs alongside that. And then yes, we would have bearish divergence if that were to happen, but that's how much upside happens before that condition gets met. Shit, at that point we actually could hit the one spot 272 extension. We can obviously look at expected moves chart here too. Hey God, oh motherfucker, where'd my rings go? My rings, damn it. Ah, shit, fuck. Well, God damn it, Bolly just took away all my access. Now I gotta go back. But I guess my probability panel still works. But yeah, I've been using an older version of this, by the way, in case you're wondering why I'm having all these technical difficulties today. He's cleaning up everything because I should probably let you know, he's got his own website now, Bolly and Pig, who he works with, both geniuses, and the link is in the description below for the relevant names, so you can actually get all of those indicators for yourself now. And he actually offers I think he gives you 7 days free first to like check out if it's going to be right for you, and then you can take it from there or not, and that's cool. So yeah, you actually have the real version. I'm using the shitty one right now, or I guess I'm using the one that just got decommissioned, but still the probability panel should work. But overall, I'd expect to see, as we saw yesterday, one of the standard deviations, I think it was a third standard deviation somewhere within this region. So, is that still potential target long term? Yeah, it is. Do I feel all that comfortable with it? Fuck no, I don't. But again, it's same thing on this chart. Is it starting to get a little bit extended? Actually, this one a lot less extended than Nasdaq. I'd be looking for new all-time highs coming into this one, regardless, into next week. Probably up. Well, actually, I don't really have any way of getting a target here. I don't even see any bearish divergence on a daily right now. It's actually making new highs on this run. So I'd be looking for it to spike up a little bit above the critical zone, then come down, then instead of some divergence. And until that happens, I wouldn't even call for like a medium term pullback. And I wouldn't even call for like a major reversal until we see some weekly divergence. And that's, as we looked at, it's not really near happening right now. In fact, if anything, the daily jewel did just gave you a continuation signal. I don't think I've ever seen a continuation signal happen in this region right here, though. So that's pretty special. That's pretty crazy. And historical volatility percentile, after contracting for the past 6 months now, since March, we would at some point be looking for a major spike up here. So does that come alongside price action to the upside? Likely. Probably likely. Anyways, let's go check out Microsoft. How did it close the day? Are we still grinding out that 230 area? Did we meet the target? Fucking close, man. Do I think that it's actually going to grind its way up to meet the target officially? Probably, yeah. It looks like most major bourses want to take another stab up here coming in next week. So the strong ones will very likely get another try up too, somewhere around 230. I do think that this one is nearing a great high though, long term. But still, looking at this one, with the way that it closed the weekly, I'd be looking for new highs on this run coming into next week, very likely up to 233. Does it get beyond there? I'd like to see it in real time first, but for for now, I do think continuation, another few bucks again. Jesus, man, this one just doesn't stop. What about Apple? Still hanging out at $500. This one's starting to look a little bit more exhausted, as we did say a couple days ago, and I'd still be sticking with that. I'm not comfortable calling a reversal here just yet. We still don't have any bearish evidence present on even the daily, and are working actually on some on the weekly. So this actually really is starting to look like a potential top. If this thing closes any sort of a daily dildo below 490 next week, I'd be looking for this one to come all the way back down to mid 450 region and play out a bounce there. But for now, this one was the first mover. It's had one of the best rallies. Obviously, it's being implicated in a stock split, and now is perhaps a good time to talk about these stock splits, because I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and I guess it's warranted, because probably people don't know too much about this, or it is kind of also just what it sounds like. So I believe it's Tesla and Apple having stock splits, kind of catalyzing a lot of this run right here, as people are trying to buy in so that they can essentially get more stock. That drives the price up, and then what happens typically when the event comes? Well, it's the same shit as when your shitcoin announces we're rebranding, so pump it up, and then they rebrand and then dump it down. It's the same thing there. So this actually does line up rather well. If I did have to call this one, I think that this one puts in a major high this next week. Call me crazy, but I actually do. It's starting to look like that on a daily. The weekly is formulating bearish divergence as we speak, and any sort of a move below last week's low at about 492 and a quarter, and I'd be extending that move down towards the mid 450s region. Tesla probably going to be very similar here too. A little bit toppy here on a long-legged doji closure on the weekly. How does the daily look like? Did sell off on the close as well, and bearish divergence is forming here too. Not confirmed. We do not have a confirmed local high, but same sort of criteria here. Any sort of a move below 2166, and I'd be targeting moves another $100 lower towards about $2,000, or I guess that's 15 or $150. But somewhere around $2,000, probably play out a bounce there, and then we'll come back and analyze that one in real time. If this one does, for whatever reason, next week go below 1927 and a half, I'd extend that move much further down towards like 16 or 1700, I believe, or 1700 it looks like. So Tesla and Apple, both your stock split fuckers. Jesus Christ, man. Elon Musk, you know what you're doing, my friend. You know what you're doing. Very, 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 very likely to put in at the very least medium-term reversals coming into this next week. And does that lead the whole market down? Well, they led the whole market to the upside. So perhaps somewhat concerning here. But then again, we do have rotations going on. So realistically, we'll see if anyone picks up the slack here. Looking at triple Qs, that would look likely. Still looks up, as well as E-minis for SPY. So I'm led to believe that we'll just see the market go into rotations. Techs will come down, and whatever else will go up. NY closing on highs on this run. I still stick with my target of 13,500. Let me double check this one. Yeah, maybe even more than that. Maybe like 13.6. Russell 2000. Again, I stick with my targets. Short term 1600. Long term back up towards 1650, 1700ish region. I mean, it looks good. Golden Cross consolidating at a high level. It's a fucking uptrend, for the love of God. I mean, same thing over here. Golden Cross right here on the daily between the green and the purple. Boom, uptrend. I mean, this is the same chart what we saw about 2 months ago from E-minis futures for SPY and Nasdaq. It's like right around here, right? It's the same thing. Gets a golden cross right here. Uptrend. It just continues upwards and onwards, and this is why I have those rules, because these sorts of things do tend to continue. Doesn't mean that they're always going to do that, but it keeps you in the trade more often than not. Looking at Nikkei 225, I think their president stepped down yesterday, and they did sell off quite a bit. I'd want to see that one on Monday. I don't think I have anything to say about that right now. What about the old Indians? I believe that they're still headed up too. Yep, I still maintain. Or actually, did we hit my target? My target's been hit. Sounds so fucking dumb. Sounds so self-congratulatory. It's like, Jesus, man. I really dislike it when people do it, and I can't for the love of God figure out why I do it myself. I need to stop. But overall, I do think that it will take out this area towards 1,750 and then work its way towards 12,250. Maybe it plays a short-term pullback from this region that we're in right now, but overall, I do still think that the direction is up. And again, you see this chart look the same as all the fucking U.S. markets, too. They're all related to each other. I can't repeat this enough. A rising tide lifts all ships. there should be no teams in this game. We're all on the same fucking team, and you can see it when you actually start to look at the world markets, which don't lie. I mean, do they lie? That's another question, but you get my point. It's like, they're in unison is what we're talking about. Okay, let's go check out Link. How's Link doing? Link's looking good for some upside here versus Satoshi's 144,000 Satoshis. I'd be looking for a move there. Daily Stokes turning back up, or wanting to turn back up. Let's see what would be needed by price action to officially do that. And we'd actually have to close basically above where we are right now by the end of today in 19 hours and 34 minutes and 9 seconds. So start clocks. But overall looks good here. I do stick with what I said the other day, that I do think that this one gets another try to the upside. 4 hour looking good for another test back up towards short term 141,000 Satoshis. So looking okay there too. 4 hour Joule actually giving you a hotter long signal as well, and 4 hour RSI is constructive more or less, while momentum oscillators remain to the upside. I do think both short term and medium term very likely does test some upside here. Cardano versus Bitcoin, on the other hand, this is this is the difference between certain altcoins, I suppose. Still nosediving a little bit. I actually would be looking for a bounce here too, but overall this is a bunch of I mean, like, I just want to know what these fucking car dealers want from this thing. It just goes down. It's been putting in lower highs for the last 3 fucking years. How do you make an excuse for a chart like this when you got a chart like this to play in the same market? A good name gets rewarded no matter what. Well, not no matter what, but a good name gets rewarded even in the midst of an overall bear market for the rest of the for the rest of the market. Well, this was 2018. What was Link doing? It was putting in higher lows. For the love of fucking God, what was Cardano doing? It was putting in lower highs. These charts are very much obtuse to each other. But yeah, I would be looking for a bounce off this region in Cardano. How high does that bounce get back up? I mean, should it even get back up to like 1250-ish region? But overall, I mean, why would I don't really have any real reason to believe that this is not that this is not just yet again another lower high in a series of lower highs on an asset that apparently only knows how to make lower highs and lower lows. Wow, that's phenomenal. Momentum oscillator is also turning down too, but yeah, I do think a bounce off this area first and foremost, and then maybe over like the next couple of months, probably does play out some down. Monthly looking, holy shit, monthly looks ugly as fuck. But fair enough. Let's go look at Link versus US dollar. I think that a lot of people are quite interested in that as well, and I'm just interested just as being like a voyeur. Like, I've been singing the praises of Links for 3 years now, and I don't even own it, and I've never even traded it once. Daily versus US dollar, I'd be looking for a move back up to 16.80 region, and we will see momentum oscillators twist in the same direction on the daily above 15.60 cents, and that's coming from a very low region right here too. And do we have a nice trend line forming? We actually do. Now we do, don't we? There we go, coming in all the way back from August 2019. August 2019 was getting you this major low right here, connected with this major low right here. Once again, meeting up with this potential major low right there too. So overall, I do think that it tests some upside here, short term and medium term. Long term, do I think that it makes new highs on this run? I like to see the monthly close first. If the monthly closes here or higher, yeah, probably. Anything above $12 is going to be considered more or less good, but maybe I shouldn't say that. Anything above $15 would look really good to me on the monthly, long term. But again, that doesn't mean that short term it can have some downside, even though short term it looks good here too. So it's Link. It just looks good, I guess. Jesus, man. Okay, what else do we want to look at? Maybe Mr. Buterol. Mr. Buterol, pagey Mr. Buterol. Where the fuck are you, Mr. Buterol? There you are. Nope, that's euro dollar. Buterol right there. We'll actually look at you later, Mr. Eurodollar. And Buterol, what you doing here? What you doing, man? What you doing? Looks a little bit more healthy than Bitcoin here too. I'd be looking for this one to test some upside as well today. A little bit around $400, anywhere between like 400 even and like 405 region. Looks about right. Does have that same sort of hidden bullish divergence between this point and this point, actually going all the way back on over here in fact. But again, I'd be looking for a short-term move back up there. Potential extension all the way up to like 420 actually. This one does look decent. Momentum also is turning at the same time, as you can see, and will officially turn with any sort of a or actually, yeah, we'll officially turn with any sort of a daily closure above 403. So you know what? I would be looking for short term to test up around 403. If today's daily closes above 403, I'd look for Buterol to work its way back up towards 420. And that very likely lines up with Bitcoin working its way back up to the top side of our current range as well. So take that as you will. Again, am I saying that that's going to happen like today? No. This coming week, possible, yes. Euro dollar, what do we see here? Oh, looks, very good weekly closure, actually. Interesting. All right, I'm really starting to think that I could be wrong on this one, man. I'm starting to think that I could really be wrong on this one. What do I mean by that? I've been looking at this as very likely a major long-term high, right around 119.5. It's brushing up against it a little bit too many times for me to think that that's likely to happen. If this is going to turn into a major high, you'd really expect it to kind of like run away from that area relatively fast. And right now it's grinding that area up and getting very comfortable. Obviously, it has not had full-on confirmation just yet, but weekly RSI is hard to ignore right here. Starting to look pretty damn good. We don't see any hidden bearish divergence, which you'd expect if this was going to put in a high there. And yeah, same thing on monthly RSI too. Even though that we are at the 200 exponential moving average, it looks like it's probably gonna have a try above. So if that does happen, I would extend my target all the way up to 125, 1.25. But for right now, you know, I'd still like to see the monthly close and the weekly close. If the monthly close is like this, I'm gonna be bullish on this one, and I would be looking for a big move higher. And that means that I need to switch all my dollars into euros. Okay, so my life just got a lot more expensive living in Europe. Anyways, what else do we want to check out? Oh my God, it's already 40 minutes into this. Jesus, man, Jesus. Okay, well, let's go look at probabilities for Bitcoin, and let's cover up the ranges once again. So, you know, if I literally had to call it right now, do I think that we test the downside first or the upside first? I'd actually think the downside, maybe like to 11,300. And then I'd be looking for it to bounce there. Again, I don't feel comfortable calling things on the weekend. I do like the way that CME is closed on Friday for both the daily and weekly, and I do think that it will test some upside coming into next week. But for now, over the weekend, you know, call me crazy. I actually do think that I'll probably test the downside first, man. Probably take some people out of their positions, and then assuming that 11,300 holds, then I'd just be looking for it to kind of come back into parity by weekend's end. Now, of course, things could change below 11.3. Then we have something new going on, in my opinion. I'd be looking for extension another $400 lower to about 10 or 11,000, and that's the long-term area. That's the one that can drive big price action below there. You know, even below $10,000 with a bounce along the way at 10.5. But for right now, you know, as long as it plays within this range, I look at more or less to get picked up with a kind of like a medium-term target into next week, somewhere around 11.7, and then of course the same long-term target to the upside coming into next week as well. Above 11,900, you know, would drive price action back towards 12,500, 13,000, and perhaps beyond. But now we're getting a little bit too ahead of ourselves right now. So let's go over here and check out the probabilities for these. With those areas in mind. So I'm going to use 11.3 and I'm going to use 11.7, and that's going to kind of be the medium term time frame range, cut in the middle right here by 11.5. Obviously Bitcoin, you know, struggling to hold it right now, but overall, you know, I do think that, you know, especially another weekly close within that region is going to look, you know, relatively good. So let's see what we got here. So I'm going to use, I'll keep 11.3 right there to the downside. We'll use 11.7 to the upside, and let's see what it populates here. Showing the probabilities turn in the favor of the upside. So if you remember yesterday, we were looking at the same sort of ranges with the same sort of implications, and the downside probability was higher. Well, now that is once again shifted in the favor of the upside as the bears fail to get continuation of the downside. And as we said, they kind of had their chance right there. I would be looking for this to very likely. I would be looking for this to test the upside. Balling Pigs Moms turning up as well, by the way, which is, let's see if this one gets it. The error correcting MA also turning up as well, it looks like too. So more or less that would kind of confirm it. And, you know, probabilities wise, 11.7 very likely, or at least, you know, if we were to flip this one 3 times, more likely, although, you know, the below target probability too is like, that's actually relatively high. 31.5% is like pretty fucking high. So realistically, what's the most likely thing to happen? Well, they're kind of almost even in that regard, but the levels still stand essentially. So that's what the math says on this one. Technically a favor of the upside here. But like I said, because it is a weekend, I'm very skeptical in this range. I would not like to trade this. I'd be, if anything, looking for this one to come down first, and then probably get picked up and try again higher this coming week. So with that said, I'd like like to wish everyone well. Sorry for the early morning wake ups, and yeah, take care, man. And I'll be back on tomorrow doing the same thing at the same time, same bat time, same bat place. Until next time, take care.